and we are going to welcome our candidates. So I'm just going to go down the list and give each candidate 2 minutes to talk about who they are and why they'd like to run for our board. So we'll start out with Arthur Burton.
Good evening, guys. How are you? Hopefully you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
Great. First of all, I want to thank you guys for this opportunity to be a part of the board and to be a part of a great organization. I looked at some of the candidates and I say these guys are well qualified, and I feel privileged to be part of this group. My background is in renewable energy. I own a company, A&B Renewable Energy. We do diverse renewable energy with workforce development in areas that's underserved. We install charging stations as well as solar energy. We try to do a decentralization for communities, not only residential, but commercial as well. I'm looking at this opportunity to be able to tell people about EV charging, renewable services, and how it applies in their community and how it can be utilized and the benefits. I thought this was a great opportunity and a platform to utilize to push out in underserved communities that's not aware of a lot of renewable and sustainable energy. And it also would be a benefit for us because we install charging stations, and we would like to promote all the vendors that's out there that's willing to work with the incentives that's there and be able to push this service out and let people know that the charging stations, just to let people know that the association is here and they're available and they have resources for your information. I heard the bell. I don't know if I'm supposed to stop.
You did great. When you hear the bell, you have 15 seconds remaining.
Oh, 15 seconds remaining. So that's why I'm taking this opportunity to thank you again, to allow me to be a part of a prestigious group and to continue to push out your all's agenda, especially in areas that's not aware of what service you offer.
Elaine, you're on mute.
All right. Thank you so much, Arthur. Really appreciate that. And next we will go to Michael Yared.
Hey everyone, Michael Yared here, and happy to be here today. So high level, my interest in wanting to join the EVA board is because I really feel that EVs are special and a superior product that's beneficial to everyone. And I want everyone who's interested in checking them out to actually have the opportunity to get a hands-on experience. And I love that that's what this organization does so well. And I feel like the sooner we can get that message out, the better. And I think the key part is education is the key. So one of the best parts about this group is that every time I do a in-person event, I learn something new. And I think the last one I went to, I charge my car at home. I have solar panels. And I thought I was being clever by charging them in the middle of the night and taking advantage of cheaper power. And someone had mentioned, that's the time when you're least likely to have renewable energy. And so since that day, I haven't done it once. And now I'm charging midday. So it's little things like that you get to be around people who have a common interest and they teach you things. I really hope that I can bring my skill set to the board and really help influence more people more quickly. And my background is in marketing and technology. So for about a decade, I worked with big biotechs and life science companies to help them with marketing. And the last 7 or 8 years, I've been helping companies build custom software. And so I run an agency that does that today. I think, if I'm elected to be on the board, my priority would be to try to work with other like-minded organizations and make sure that we can fund a lot of the initiatives that we want to do. And I know that, the way that this organization is run today is primarily volunteers. And I think we should start thinking, into the future and potentially looking for some full-time positions to keep this mission going. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Michael. And Jim Donovan.
First and foremost, unmute yourself. I will have a hard time speaking for 2 full minutes because that's just my nature. The most important thing I have to say is I've read the bios on all these people running, and you've got a lot of tough decisions to make in narrowing down your vote to only 4, because each and every one of these people brings something unique and necessary to this organization. Win, lose, or draw, I would like to think that we can all work together to forward our mutual interests. I got involved with electric vehicles in the early 90s. Since then, on my green screen, you can see my 30th project vehicle. I had a hobby, and it is what it is, a hobby of buying cars and playing with them. This particular truck was a Bob Batson EVA America standard design that, for a lot of reasons that would put you to sleep tonight, I can tell you why I went as far as pulling the transmission out of it so I can rebuild it my way. Because when it's all said and done, the way that you want it is the way that you want it. I got started in '92. We started the Mid-America Electric Automobile Association in the early 90s based on 3 questions. Who are we, what do we do, and how do we do it? Luckily, the National answers the first 2 questions, and our calendar of events addresses how we do it here in Kansas City. If elected to the board, I have laid out a list of priorities that, in sitting here and dreaming last night, back in the early 90s, our club started what we called the EV Trading Post and an EV photo album. And those things became very necessary for people to buy, sell, and trade, usually driveway converted cars. We're very fortunate today in that we have manufacturers building cars. Photo albums are an opportunity to show off what you have and allow others to cheat and learn how you did it. Those are things that I think we can add to our repertoire of services to our members.
Thank you so much, Jim. All right, and Jeff Ward.
Hey team, I just want to say, just like everyone else, expand on thank you for giving me the opportunity. I do feel privileged, as others have mentioned, taking a look at some of the candidates. Yeah, the decision is difficult. My background, I'm a very new person to electric vehicles. I got into an electric vehicle back in 2018 on the BMW i3. Back then, I noticed that there was just a lack of information as well as infrastructure in my home state for electric vehicles. I began reaching out to legislators in my home state, and it did feel like it felt like I was falling on deaf ears with trying to have some focus on electric vehicles, because I do see that as the future. So fast forward, I decided to take matters in my own hands. I took a pay cut and began working for the state of Arkansas. So I currently work for the Department of Transportation. That began in 2021. I've assisted them in the NEVI, right, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program that's recently been launched by our legislators in Washington. I will say that if I become a board member, I'd like to focus on states like mine, states that have a lot of rural areas, states that lack the infrastructure and lack the planning. And I was going to say thank you as well for giving me the opportunity to speak in this 2 minutes.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeff. All right. And Doug Nolan.
Hey everybody, excuse me, I'm Douglas Nolan. I'm from Northeast Ohio originally. My dad was an electrician, so I used to love going and playing on his workbench and, hitting voltage testers and I have been electrocuted. But anyway, I just wanted to say that I have my I have a bachelor's degree in journalism and mass communication from Kent State University. That's what I went with for my whole entire career. I've been an editor of television and film for 26 years now. Very communicable. I answer the phone. If I don't answer the phone on the first ring, there's a good reason, and I'll get right back to you. I do have connections at the local, state, and federal level. I live in Chatsworth, California right now, which is on the north side of Los Angeles, and I am an advocate for the Chatsworth Neighborhood Council right now. I think it would be good for, either one or both of two of the committees we talked about, and those would be communications, given my career, and then finance also, because well, several reasons. I'm just genuinely interested in grants and financing and how that works and everything. But I did recently was the script supervisor and post-production editor for 55 lectures on financial literacy with Brandon Copeland, who is an Ivy League professor in finance. And we talked about all the different stages of investments. I'm interested in writing grants. I am a writer. I'm very resourceful. So when I go to these events, these conventions, I get a media package. The name of my company is DNS Media, so I get media credentials every time. So I'll get a list of all these people, and I'll go into LinkedIn Premier and find out who they are, and I reach out to them and I talk to them directly. And next thing I know, I'm being connected with the heads of marketing for all these various auto manufacturers. And above all, I just think it's fun. I have a blast, and I'm a giant car aficionado as well. And I'll say this real quick. I did one TV show where all they did was convert internal combustion engines to electric vehicles and motorcycles and everything. So yeah, that's me real quick and who I am in 2 minutes.
Great. Thanks so much, Douglas. All right. And Kate.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kate Crook. I have so many things to say and only 2 minutes to say them again. I'm really, really fortunate to be amongst this great group of people who are interested in becoming part of the EVA. My background is in education. Thought my whole life I was going to be an English teacher, and realized that that wasn't quite the path for me. I had a family quite young and decided to make a few career moves to pay bills. And worked for General Electric corporate for quite a long time. And after that period of time, I realized that I was in love with my car more than my job. In 2014, I fell in love with my Chevy Spark EV that I found out was very difficult to acquire in New York State, which led me down a rabbit hole of pathways to understand more about policy in the EV world, as to why I couldn't get a very economical vehicle that was electric in my state. So I started to read more about that. And at the end of my time of there, I decided to leave my corporate job and work for a startup called Livingston Energy Group, where I am now. I basically made my own job. I went up to them and said, this is what you need. You need someone like me to talk about electric cars at your event. So that startup is actually putting in electric vehicle charging infrastructure across New York State and across the country. We've been able to do that in the past 3 years. The growth has been exponential, and I get to go out and tell people why it's important to change to electric transportation and all the impacts that it can have. My love of policy has grown. I've met with the New York State legislatures to talk about, the NEVI updates. I think Jeff pointed that out, as well as how we can impact a better infrastructure throughout the state and then towards the country. It's exciting work, and I get to do it every day at work, and I would love to bring my experience to the EVA as well.
Great. Thanks so much, Kate. And last but certainly not least, Terry Kirsch.
Yeah, saved me for last. Well, I'm happy to be here, and I am listening to what everybody has to offer. Their small bios. You're all going to be on committees, so I hope you know if you don't get elected, we're calling you anyway, because even if I'm not elected, I still have till the end of the year. So wow, I am so impressed by what everybody says they can do, and even answering the phone. Nobody answers the phone anymore, so good for you. I do the very, very same thing. I'm guilty of that. Just a little bit about me personally, because I'd like you all to know me, those who don't. I am have retired about 4 times. I keep coming out of retirement. I live in San Diego. I am a widow. I have 2 adult children, a grandson that's 2.5, and a little granddaughter on the way. She's due in December. I have I'm on my 3rd Model S. I have a 22. Elaine called me one summer night and said, I just bought a new Tesla. I said, I'm going to do it too. So we bought them together. And it's been a lot of fun. And her and I've done a lot of really fun road trips. As far as me and what I want to do is my strength is also marketing, but all the operations and infrastructure of organizations, staying on task, setting a goal, and doing it quickly. So for me, it's really just to stay on target and making sure everybody does what they're supposed to do. I think Michael Yared, it was the one who said that we have grown up now. We're no longer just a small little organization standing around talking about battery chemistry. We are actually getting work done. But in order to do that, we are going to need paid staff. So that is one of the goals that I want to make sure that we do, is continue with our fundraising so we can actually have that paid staff and take some of the burden off of the board, because we do all this for, it's a thankless job that we do. But to me, the big reward is literally, us being able to be out there and spread the word, support the chapters and their members. That's what I want to get done.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Terry. All right. So now we're going to just jump into a round of questions, and some of them might involve our committees. So just to remind everybody, our committees are, and some of these kind of overlap, but we have policy, we have membership, which includes chapter development. We have communications, social media, our website, we have finance. So in case you get a committee question, because those are vital to the work that we do. And that's really, we're looking for board members that can really help out, that can, take on a project, create a project, create some fundraising, under our finance committee. That also includes fundraising and sponsorships and grants and all of that stuff. So a lot of different facets and a lot of different moving parts. So I'm going to start out with Kate Crook. And Kate, question for you: how would you recommend getting more young people involved with the Electric Vehicle Association?
That's my favorite thing to do. So one of the things that I feel, again, was mentioned many times here, is that education piece. Something that I know, especially working with younger students, is that they don't know that these types of opportunities, this type of change, this type of technology is something that they can access, and something that they need to know about. So something that I've started to do in my capital region here in New York is I've worked with the capital region BOCES and career and technical education schools to go into the schools and talk about green energy tech. And that is a great start. I've also built communication career pathways from those career high school paths with our local community colleges. So building that infrastructure and building that network between getting kids involved in high school, then to community college level, and then hopefully into the workforce. I think Jim and some of the others on the committee had mentioned that they work in green energy technology. These students are our workforce of tomorrow, but they don't know it's something that they can access unless you get in front of them early. I've also done some things in middle school areas where we've done the equivalent of a touch-a-truck, where we've worked with the Capital District EV Drivers Group to bring in electric vehicles to their makerspace programs or some of their science classes, and integrate at that middle school level to open up some of the eyes of some of these students to showcase this is what you're going to be exposed to in the very, very near future. So those are some things, getting involved with your local schools, bringing in those secondary education schools is really important, and making those connections.
Great.
That is frightening.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So yeah, just a reminder, we're doing a 2-minute timer for the question and answer portion also. So, all right. And I'll go next question. Jim Donovan, how would you propose increasing our membership?
I love mute. It works fine. Increasing membership. I think you are correct in that you're going to have to start addressing what are the needs, wants, desires of someone, quite honestly, that may not reflect those of us that continue to meet and discuss EVAs or EVs. All cards on table. I'm getting older. I don't represent the young community, but I do know what the young community likes, wants, and would do. The barcode to become a member is the easiest thing in the world to do and gets the best results the quickest. I would argue when it comes to hiring staff, I would think that what I've done in the past with other organizations is hire an intern, a college level, a grad student from any one of our schools across the country. They're all hungry, looking for a first step into the real world, and an internship does that. And if we bring an intern in, you'd be surprised how they can, their nature, they're young, address many of the committee structures that we have and be able to assist us. One of the things that I would suggest comes in handy with assisting us is providing outreach and support to people that have EVs or are considering getting an EVs. The best way to do that, I think, is to create Google groups. This is a Google group, and I use Tesla as an example because they already have this set up. Tesla clubs throughout the country. Why are there not other EV make model clubs throughout the country? The best example I always throw out first is the Chevy Bolt, because that seems to be the second most popular EV out there. But when the Ford Lightning comes out, why not have a Google group for that? Have those specific people with that specific input access to so that they can talk to each other to find out how things are going for them.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. And then Arthur Burton, how would you propose that we help and support our chapters best?
Mute here. There we go. Just did. Thank you. Well, how to support and help yourself. Word of mouth has always been one of the key things, and good news travel fast. Bad news travel even faster. So the biggest thing is having people to understand what you guys do and how it is an advantage and advantageous in increasing the knowledge and awareness of what sustainable energy is all about. That would be the thing about having people informed on what your service is. And to believe it or not, in underserved communities, people have the slightest idea of what all this renewable stuff is all about. Some of the policy makers I mentioned, Kate mentioned, these are some of the things that would definitely have to be pushed forward, and people have a better understanding, just like they would do any other things that's new to them, so they can have a comfort level. I know that would be the first thing, a knowledge base of what the services entail. People tend to be more receptive when they understand better. That's just nature of learning. And policies is definitely going to be the key to making sure that the organization is sustainable and the agenda is pushed out forward to everyone.
Great. Thank you very much. All
Sure.
right. And Terry Kirsch, what do you see as your goals for the EVA board?
Let's see. Well, one of the things that I want to continue doing is supporting the chapters and their members. We still have chapters out there that are struggling. What Arthur just said, even website development, getting the word out there and whatnot. They oftentimes, the chapters and their leaders oftentimes are busy and doing everything themselves. So what can we do to support them? including sponsorships from local businesses and whatnot. Some of these folks are really strong advocates for EVs, but they don't really know the business side of it. So I've heard some chapter leaders talk about they don't really even know how to do a profit and loss statement or keep track of their own finances. Now we do that for chapters ourselves, right? We are the custodian of the money and whatnot. However, it's good to make sure that you keep track of that yourself. There's always a check and a balance. But for us to support the chapters so they know where they can get their own funding, again, this year we're doing the sharing of the dues that people get. The chapters now get a portion of that. What are they going to do with that money? How do they do that? Because the whole idea of our members and the chapters are boots on the ground, so that people can be out there talking to others and explain to them what it's like to be an EV owner. Policy is great. That stuff we really have to do, and we have to be out there. We have to get into the underserved communities. But the reality is all of that has to be done by us getting bodies in seats and us explaining to people what that's about. How do you do it if you're a chapter leader? What are the tools that are available to you through the association? So that's something that I want to do to help get that word out to the chapters, to help increase membership, just support the leaders themselves and help them grow and develop.
Great. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And Douglas, same question as for Kate. How do you recommend that we get younger people involved?
TikTok. I got invited to shoot and edit this marketing, like a marketing convention, I guess you would call it. But they were talking about, this was just a couple years ago. They were talking about how Instagram is getting to be like old school or something. And I'm like, gee whiz, you know. So, you know, it's following the trends. It is, and I like the boots on the ground reference is definitely a way to go. Find some of these young people and then ask them for an interview. Always works really good because they like to talk about themselves. And of course, they're going to plaster it all over their own social medias and their friends are going to see it. And they're the ones who have, you know, a bazillion followers and subscribers. Nextdoor is a new app that I've been playing around with, and I can't believe the response. People like to talk about themselves individually. And then Jim had mentioned about the Tesla groups. I also did a piece about these guys in Los Angeles who jumped a Tesla. I don't know if you guys saw this. They were mimicking somebody else, but it was a really big deal. And the way it all started, it was this Tesla group, and they were meeting out one time, and somebody got the bright idea to go and mimic some other social media guy who had jumped his Tesla on this very famous road in Echo Park in downtown Los Angeles. So there's that. Oh yeah, and then the big thing too that I've been saying that I was going to do, and I am kind of partially, but I'm just getting there, is populating the YouTube channel and you know, putting as much content up there as possible, and of course educating people too. I met, one thing is that I took this, I think the reason I found the Electric Vehicle Association was through the intro to electric vehicles on the edX learning platform. And there are always people in there and you make friends with them. And then as part of the class, there's always a like a panel discussion kind of thing where you get to talk about things. And sure enough, you'll say something that will relate to something that somebody else said. And it just spreads from there.
Great. All right. Thank you, Douglas. And then Michael Yared, how would you recommend that we help and support our chapters?
As far as supporting the chapters, I think the biggest thing we need to do is ask them where they need the most help. So chapters in different regions are going to require different levels of support. Obviously, the ones on the coast that have a lot of access to things like charging stations and meetup groups that are already there, they can take advantage of that because they're also getting a lot of the events. So, you know, San Diego, San Francisco, Boston, even Miami. The ones that are more in the middle of the country, you know, I come from Louisville, Kentucky, and there's only a couple of superchargers there for Tesla and very few non-Tesla ones. So it's a little bit harder to get people to out, but there's some advantages in that. And I think, by soliciting the chapters themselves, listening to them and saying, how could we help you most, is going to be the place I would always start first. And then understanding that, if from the standpoint of like getting events to come to them, if we can do mini road shows where it's like you're hitting 3 cities in the Midwest and then 3 cities in the South, like that would draw a lot of attention. And, before you even have to spend a penny thinking about it, we have the ability to survey folks on the participant side as well and ask them if they would be interested in coming to something like that. So, yeah, that's most likely where I would begin with.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Michael. All right. And Jeffrey, how would you propose that we increase our membership?
Am I unmuted? Okay, I did. Good deal. Gosh, increasing membership. Yeah, certainly word of mouth. I mean, you touched on a lot of those points before you started this meeting, where you had invited everyone else that wasn't being considered to be a board member. So certainly, yeah, word of mouth. I love the TikTok idea. I'm seeing more and more people, even my age, I'm in my 30s, that are using TikTok, and they're moving away from social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram. There's surprisingly an enormous amount of people that are visiting electric.co. That's a website for those of you that don't know. Their YouTube channel, the growth that they have on there is exponential. They're currently now at 182,000 subscribers. I'm surprised that no one has reached out to them, because they don't just touch on when you hear the word electric vehicle and you think automobiles, right? Cars, trucks, SUVs. They don't touch just on that. That platform, electric.co, and their YouTube channel, they're touching on electric bicycles, electric motorcycles. They've even talked about boats, airplanes, stuff like that. So surprisingly, I've looked on search on there, they haven't touched or they haven't talked about the Electric Vehicle Association. I think that that'd be a good platform to try to get on, to see if either we could purchase a marketing spot or if they would be interested in just interviewing us in general. So yeah, let's be back on social media and of course, word of mouth. That's my 2-minute answer.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeffrey.
Of course.
All right. And now we will go back to Arthur. So Arthur, which committee would you choose to lead, and what would be some of your projects or goals for that committee?
I'm muting now. Yeah, I worked on a number of organizations, and my role has been pretty much fit in with the membership, bringing people to the forefront and trying to help them understand what this whole process is. And once they do, I get a good buy-in. So once people are understanding what the EVs are about, the association, what it does and what it does to bring to the communities and the services that they offer, I think that's a good membership drive effort there. That's one committee, but my passion is definitely to see some of these infrastructure offerings that is passed through legislation and policies are filtered into some of the areas, especially here in Chicago. We have a lot of dry desert areas that don't have EVs. You look in the plug-in app here, they're concentrated in certain areas. South Loop, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chicago, but those are kind of areas where touristy and, maybe the school areas around the University of Chicago, near North, of course, and Gold Coast. So our goal, I think, would be able to try to get this thing spread it out. Let's even it out. Get people buying into this new service, this technology, and then let them understand that, hey, if we don't make a change now, our kids won't have an opportunity to stick around to do anything, or our grandkids. So let's get the buy-in now, start looking at these services and see how we can take advantage of some of this opportunity in this new green economy.
Great. Thank you, Arthur.
Sure.
All right. And Jim Donovan, same question. What committee would you choose to lead and what would be some of your projects or goals?
One of the questions I had for the board was to more or less define what is the stated purpose objective of a committee. Because unless we know what our purposes are, an organization will struggle without knowing which direction it's going in. If we just take simple, what you would assume to be definitions, my background is public administration. I have a master's degree and I've been self-employed for 30 some odd years. I have held elected offices, municipalities, appointed offices with other quasi-governmental bodies, and a whole lot of volunteer groups. And I have formed myself into a chameleon where any one of these committees could work. If you're asking what my strength and weakness would be, I'm going to suggest that's one committee I would pick. The other committee would be based on where my desires are. I am affiliated with a chapter. I would always default to membership. Our organization exists for the benefit of our members. Our members are the board's bosses. And that's the way we should approach it. The second one then would be policy, because I'm good at looking at a 60,000-foot view and coming up with the reasons and the whys and fors and hows of what we're doing. Typically on a board like this, it is common for a board member to be a chair of one committee and a vice chair of another. You're spreading your knowledge and the board's ability to do things. My approach would be very simple. Where are my strengths and weaknesses and where are my desires? I could see me doing website, but I don't develop websites. I don't speak that language. I have served on many budgetary and finance committees, and I have opinions as to best practices, but I still fall back to where the needs are, membership and policy.
Great. Thank you so much, Jim. And Michael Yared.
Same question?
Yes, sorry.
No problem. So I think from my standpoint, I'd be happy to be on a number of different committees. I'd obviously want to go where I felt, the most needed. But I feel like, having gotten to work with Elaine and Terry and Rebecca and Julie, to handle a lot of the marketing over the last year has been really good, and be happy to stay on that committee. And also the finance side is like a big passion of mine. My day job is I'm CEO of a roughly 50-person organization, and I'm dad to 3 kids who have, 4 different sports 7 days a week. So I feel like I can maneuver on the finance side as well. But overall, I think the biggest thing that I would like to see is that, the next year's board work with the committees and really empower them. So I think if the board is coming together and agreeing on the committee's purpose and who the members of the committee are, I think the committee should have the power to do what they want to do. They should still answer to the board and be responsible to them, obviously, but not every decision needs to be a board level decision, like what color is this and when will we send this out? Some of those things we just need to leave up to the committee members. And if committees are chaired by board members, then the board already has representation there. I think it's really important for really keeping interest from others who aren't on the board to be part of that. So regardless of where I end up, I think that would be hopefully my ask and mandate for any committee that I'd be part of.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Jeffrey, same question. Which committee and projects and goals?
And I like Michael's answer, so I'm going to expand on that. Why couldn't we wear multiple hats? You know what I mean? Instead of just being focused on one committee, we could be 2, 3, like vice committee stuff, like a vice board member on another committee. I'll say that if I have to pick just one, it's going to be comms. And the reason that I say that is because, with the federal government coming out with this national electric vehicle infrastructure program, and having just an absolute enormous amount of rural areas and states like mine here in the state of Arkansas that have to deal with those massive rural areas, and where to divvy up this money for this NEVI formula. So that would be the one committee that that I would, if I have to pick one, it would be communications, working with state and federal programs on helping them with this entire national intervehicle infrastructure program that they've developed.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. And Terry Kirsch. Same question, committee and projects and goals.
Well, this is kind of an unfair question because I want to be the vice president again. And the reason I say that is because I don't necessarily want to run a committee. I want to support our other board members that need assistance. I am a resource manager like no other. So really for me, I manage my resources. I love all the committees themselves, but there is support. I have the experience on the board. I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. So there are things that I do that help move things along, set goals, stay on task, set deadlines. That's really what I want to do. And the committees that I've worked on so far, I've done that. I haven't necessarily been the lead or whatnot. It's more, this is what we're going to do. I want everybody to get back to me by Friday. I think that's sort of the thing that everybody needs coaching on. So I'm better of a leader. If I had to pick a committee, I would probably say membership if I had to, but I really kind of want to work across the board with all of them. So that's my answer.
Great. Thank you so much, Terry. And Kate Crook. Same question, committee and projects or goals.
There are so many things I want to do. I think I didn't get to mention one of the best things that I've learned by just becoming involved in the EVA is how responsive Elaine and the team have been, which makes me more and more want to do all the things, but I know that I am limited by time. Something that I personally would like to be able to see and get going if I was a member of the board is to try to work on getting a scholarship situation or a scholarship set up from under the EVA, something not just for chapters, but for people, especially our youth, and looking about entering into this field. I have 3 boys, 2 of them are in the college range, and I've learned as being a mom that there are not a lot of scholarship opportunities for students who may not be at the top of their class, but have a passion for science, technology, engineering, and green energy tech. Some students, especially some of my boys who came from the foster care system, don't have a lot of opportunities, but the EVA can offer that. So I would like to be able to try to work with this organization to come up with a scholarship and find some business community members who might be able to support that and then push it out. Knowing that it's going to have to reach back out into our memberships to use that as an opportunity for the members of this organization to push that out if we get it going, as well as finding those resources in the community. So I think that project and that goal kind of spans a couple committees. So I'm not sure where exactly it falls, but that would be my goal, is to try to invigorate the EVA, have that scholarship opportunity, and then be able to tell the good things that the organization is doing that will help get more people involved. And again, support some of our differentiated learners and get them involved and know that there's a pathway for them. Ding.
Great. Thanks so much, Kate. All right. And Douglas, same question, committee and projects or goals.
Okay, well, I'm going to say communications committee. Definitely. One of the things I haven't mentioned yet is that I've also done numerous conventions and trade shows. In college, I worked for a radio station called WKDD, and it was all about promotions. And it was, we gave away T-shirts, and we had a free money machine. We had a mascot. I don't know what our mascot would be if we did, but they're always really fun because, you want to involve young people and kids and everything. Everybody loves kids. And I've worked, you know, the LA Convention Centers for the National Association of Broadcasters one year, and then I did NATP, which is the National Association of Television Producer Executives. And it's really just about going up to people and meeting them and saying hi, you know, and introducing yourself, and you can see who wants to talk to you and who doesn't. And I'm sure that that would spill over into membership as well, because if I'm working, say, the LA Auto Show, and you know, that's half combustible engine, half electric, so you might get some people who are interested in EVs, and educate them, of course, is a big thing. Is because a lot of people just don't know. When I took that course, I had no idea most of the stuff. When they call it an introduction course, it was way more than that. It was extremely technical, and I got into all this. And you just speak to different people at different levels. And I also have a little bit of a sales background, actually a lot of sales background. And you know what I do when I do promos and trailers when I'm editing. So I'm constantly promoting either movies or TV shows, and you know, various products. I did commercials too. So one way or another, you're always promoting and selling something, you know, to get through life. And I do like the finance committee just because I'm genuinely interested. The other thing I didn't mention yet is that I'm halfway through getting my master's degree in business administration, and it is a lot of marketing, global marketing, and leadership and teamwork. And I just really enjoy all that stuff.
Great. Thanks so much, Douglas. All right. Well, so those are our candidates. If anybody has a question that they'd like to share in the chat, feel free. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time here and just finish up with a couple things. So yeah, I think we've got a great slate of candidates. I don't think you can go wrong. The ballots will be going out. In fact, they probably went out 5 minutes ago. Be sure and check your email, because it does come from a company called electionbuddy.com. So sometimes people will contact us and say, oh, I didn't get my ballot. And 99.9 times out of 100, it's in their spam folder. So be sure and check that for your ballot. And then so you can vote for 4 of our 7 candidates tonight. And so I do want to thank all of the candidates for joining us tonight and for running for the board. You know, this is just a great organization, and it's a lot of work, but it is very rewarding. And it's we're just really pleased to have such qualified candidates running for the board. And I definitely want to thank our outgoing board and the board members that are staying on. Also, we've got just a great board of directors, and they've done tremendous work this year. So thank you to all of them. So on that note too, our annual meeting is coming up, and we've had it just online for the past couple of years due to COVID. However, we are hoping to have it in person again this next year. So January 28th, which is the last Saturday of January. It's not been completely set in stone yet, but we believe we're going to have it at Aptera's new 80,000 square foot facility, which is in North San Diego County. So kind of put that on your calendar. And also we are looking for award nominations. That request just went out. Our blog email just went out today. Think about anybody you know who needs to be recognized. You know, so many of us do this work on a volunteer basis. And so it's nice to be able to recognize people. We have categories for all different things: students, teachers, businesses, local and regional. Kate's company, Livingston Energy, won one of our business awards last year, and Lifetime Achievement, EVA Advocate of the Year, and also Chapter of the Year. So think about all of those things and submit your nominations to membership@myeva.org. And then these are just some pictures from some of the things from Fully Charged Live. So that was the hybrid electric catamaran that we were able to take cruises on. And then we did an Aptera event over across the street from the convention center, where I think I mentioned we got to speak one-on-one with the CEOs of Aptera. So that was really cool. So, all right. And I think, so from Rap Hankins of our Dayton chapter, have a question. How would we reach out to underserved communities and aid them in the educational process and benefits of EVs? So do we have any of our candidates that want to take that question on?
Oh,
Kate, go for it. We'll go Kate first and then Jeffrey.
I was going to say, oh, can you hear me? One of the things that I found was actually really helpful is we paired with the Schenectady Green Market, which is in the middle of downtown Schenectady, in an underserved community. And that's where we hosted Drive Electric Week. So we partnered with the Green Market that already existed that does cater to an underserved community. And the response this year, I didn't get to mention it before, but we had the #1 most registered participants for a national Drive Electric Week event. So we had people, as they came in, we had our volunteers registering them. They were folks that were there for the market. They come every year. We tried to get them involved ahead of time by working with the market, but day of, they were registering that they came. They learned a lot of new things. And the biggest thing that we've learned from education is that a lot of folks don't understand that EVs can be affordable. I couldn't tell you the number of times that I heard, I can't afford an electric vehicle, or I don't have access to this. It's not the case. We've also worked with the Schenectady Seat Center, which is for underserved youth who may not have finished their high school education. Brought some of our leadership team there to talk about green technology. So again, you're infiltrating that community and coming to them versus asking them to come to you, and using definitely the ways that they like to communicate. Folks are not going to a webinar. They want you to be part of their community and show that you care. So those were some of just the things that we've learned, and it works. Just gaining that knowledge. Also working with some of the transit authorities. We work with the Capital District Transportation Authority, who runs our buses. They just adopted EV buses, and some folks didn't even realize that that was part of the mix. There's going to be more, but again, that's a different community. So there's a lot of options out there, as well as working with some of the local agencies who are just showcasing how electric vehicles can benefit. Our group is going to be doing Thanksgiving, driving meals to folks in underserved communities in electric cars. You know, it's something that those organizations needed help with, and we have drivers to do it. Thanks.
Excellent. That's great. Thanks, Kate.
Yep.
And then Jeffrey, you had your hand up.
I did, but Kate's killing it. So I'll read you what I wrote. As I was writing it in the chat box over there on the right hand side. I put on there just by reaching out to our chapters and asking them to reach out to schools in the area to request a time to come by and speak to high schools, universities that are in those underserved communities and discuss the benefits of not only electric vehicles, but also solar and moving away from relying on oil from overseas. But yeah, Kate's killing it, man. I don't know.
Excellent.
What Kate said.
And then Arthur put an answer in the chat, which is perfect. You know, working with community outreach groups and sponsors. I know here in San Diego, we work with Groundwork San Diego, and you know, they work with an underserved community, and we do everything from EV displays, and they do all kinds of eco for the earth functions with the kids, and it's been a really good connection. And then Michael.
Yeah, this answer got me thinking of, I was lucky a couple of years ago to be a fellow at the Health Enterprise Network. And one of our projects was to understand why a small section of Louisville, Kentucky had a life expectancy that was 10 years less than the rest of the surrounding areas. And it was an underserved area. And when we got in there, we saw that they had this really nice pediatrician center that couldn't get anyone to come, even though they were giving away services for free, and they wanted to be part of the community. And after talking to folks and interviewing them and understanding the why, it was really just, trust wasn't established. And so as part of it, we worked with some of their local influencers within the community. We worked with some of their pastors. We worked with local rappers. And we talked to just about everybody to say, like, what do we need to do to help get the message out about healthcare? And it was a slightly different issue, but I don't think, flashing expensive $100,000 EVs is going to be the way. It really is getting in there and talking through from an education standpoint and saying, here are resources that you can access that are either online or offline, just to learn about it. And I think that the biggest promise we've seen in some areas has been, working with some of the younger school children, even just showing them, here's some things that you can do with simple solar projects, and getting that excitement and building it up, and then forcing other levels of questions to be asked. So I think it's one where, again, every underserved community is going to be slightly different, but working with them is going to be the key.
Perfect.
Elaine, can I
Great
throw
answer.
in 3 options?
Go ahead, Jim.
Our local club here in Kansas City has been meeting on a hybrid platform since COVID. We redefined what post-COVID is, and that means having both in-person and hybrid meeting. The nice thing about a Zoom hybrid meeting is you're opening yourself up for the whole world. Anybody can join. The other 2 that I would suggest, there should be outreaches to the schools. If you're outreaching to local middle and high schools, I would suggest familiarizing yourself with the electrothons. It's a high school, middle school aged version of a 36-volt electric car that has what they call races. It's based on distance, not speed, and introduces the concept of electric vehicle to kids. I substitute teach every once in a while, and you'd be surprised how minds turn when they find out that I'm driving an electric that I converted in my driveway to school. And here's something you guys can do. And one of the schools actually did go out and get into the hybrid. As they get older, there's the solar race across the country. There's an opportunity for multiple electric car clubs to partner with electric vehicles driving across country. It comes in handy. It's fun. It does get the word out.
Great points. Thanks, Jim. And then Jeffrey added to reach out to 55 plus communities, and actually to all communities, I think, and discuss how they can get active by teaching them the benefits of electric bikes. I know electric bikes are just huge around here now. You literally see hundreds of them at the schools when they let out each day. So we're seeing more and more people on e-bikes and scooters and all kinds of things. So great points. And so yes, and Regine just chimed in. Regine Fellows was our former president and did an amazing job with EVA. And she said she just voted and it was a really tough choice. And to all the candidates, stay involved. So, I think I talked to all the candidates about this already, but, whether you're elected or not, doesn't really matter. You can all be involved with the board of directors, and that goes for anybody on this call and anybody who's a member. We welcome everybody's input on our board. So thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you in the near future. Hopefully we'll see you out here in San Diego for our annual meeting in January. So stay tuned. I think Aptera is talking about taking people for rides, and we're trying to talk the electric catamaran into offering some cruises for us, and should be a fun weekend. So thanks again, everybody.
Bye all. Thank you. Good night.
Bye. And yes, Leanne, we'll try to make it a hybrid meeting.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate this.
Thank you.
Same. Take care.
Bye. Take care. Hope you feel better, Kate.
Thank you.